Share PEGACPSA23V1 exam dumps with real questions and answers. We will offer an explanation for each answer. Question 1. Option B is the most appropriate choice for satisfying the requirement of providing written information regarding different account types during the discussion between the customer and the CSR. Option A suggests creating a user view for requesting information, but this doesn't necessarily facilitate the provision of written information during the discussion between the CSR and the customer. Option C proposes adding a case-wide optional action, which might be too broad and not specific to the stage where the select account type assignment occurs. Option D suggests adding a router to the select account type assignment, which would likely complicate the process unnecessarily and doesn't directly address the requirement of providing written information during the discussion. Question 2. The correct answers are A and C. Here's why. A. In the prescription order page scenario, procedural processing would be used to update the cost summary when the user opts to fill one or more prescriptions. This involves performing calculations based on the selected prescriptions, their quantities, and possibly other factors like insurance coverage or discounts. Procedural processing allows for dynamic updates to the cost summary based on user actions, ensuring that it accurately reflects the total cost as prescriptions are selected. C. In the purchase order request page scenario, procedural processing would be employed to update the order total price after the customer changes a quantity. This involves recalculating the total price based on the updated quantities of items in the purchase order. Procedural processing allows for real-time calculation of the order total, providing the customer with accurate pricing information as they make changes to their order. Both scenarios involve dynamic updates and calculations based on user actions, which are typical use cases for procedural processing. Question 3. The correct answers are A and C. Here's the explanation. A. Configuring the request type as a weighted condition allows the system to give more importance to this criterion when identifying duplicates. Since tenants may submit multiple maintenance requests for different request types, using the request type as a weighted condition ensures that requests with the same type are considered more likely to be duplicates. This helps in accurately identifying duplicate requests of the same type from the same address. C. Configuring the apartment address as a basic condition is essential because the company wants to identify duplicate maintenance requests from the same address. By including the apartment address as a basic condition in the search for duplicate cases, the system can filter requests based on the address, allowing for the identification of duplicates originating from the same location. Both configurations are necessary to accurately identify duplicate maintenance requests from the same address by considering the request type and the apartment address as criteria. Question 4. The correct answer is C. Cascading approval using an authority matrix. In a travel authorization process where approvals are required from the requester's manager, division VP, and possibly an accountant based on the total amount, cascading approval using an authority matrix is the most appropriate configuration. Here's why. An authority matrix typically defines approval levels based on criteria such as the total amount of the travel authorization request. For example, approvals up to a certain amount may only require the manager's approval, while amounts exceeding that threshold may require additional approvals from higher-level authorities such as the division VP or accountant. Question 5. The correct answer is B. Add a condition to skip the item return stage when a return is not necessary. Here's why. By adding a condition to skip the item return stage when a return is not necessary, you can control the flow of the case lifecycle based on certain criteria. In this scenario, the condition would evaluate whether the item needs to be returned or not. If the condition determines that the item does not need to be returned, the case would skip the item return stage and proceed directly to the next relevant stage in the process, such as refund processing. Question 6. The correct answer is B. Data transform. A data transform is a rule type used to transform data from one format to another. In this case, it can be used to copy the contents of a previous order to the current order. Data transforms are commonly used for tasks like copying values from one property to another, mapping data between different structures, or performing calculations on data. Option B, data transform, aligns with the typical approach for copying order contents in a business application. Question 7. The correct answer is D. Create a rule for the variation and add the rule to the layer for the region. In Pega's situational layer cake approach, variations for specific regions, departments, or other situational contexts are typically managed by creating rules specific to those variations and then adding those rules to the appropriate layer corresponding to the context. Option D aligns with this approach by suggesting the creation of a rule for the variation and adding it to the layer for the specific region where it applies. This allows for effective management of variations across different contexts within the application. Question 8. The correct answers are C and D. Here's why. C. Running a data transform to create the test page allows you to populate the clipboard with the needed data. A data transform is a rule type in Pega that transforms data from one format to another. By configuring a data transform, you can define the necessary data structure and values to populate the clipboard before testing the rule. Decopying data from an existing clipboard page is another valid option to populate the clipboard before testing the rule. If you already have a clipboard page with the required data, you can simply copy the data to the test page to ensure that the rule executes as intended during unit testing. Both of these options provide methods for populating the clipboard with valid data, allowing you to effectively test the rule and ensure that it behaves as expected. Question 9. The correct answer is A. Labels and drop-down values on a section rule. Field value rules are commonly used to localize labels and drop-down values within a Pega application. These rules allow you to define different language-specific values for fields and drop-downs, ensuring that the application's interface can be easily adapted to different languages and locales. Option aligns with this functionality, as labels and drop-down values are typical examples of content that would be localized using field value rules. This ensures that the user interface elements within the application are displayed in the appropriate language for the user, enhancing the overall user experience. Question 10. The correct answer is B. Configure the mandatory fields as always required on the form at runtime. Here's why. Option B aligns with the standard approach for indicating mandatory fields on a form in Pega. By configuring the mandatory fields as always required on the form at runtime, you ensure that these fields are marked with asterisks or other indicators to signify that they must be filled out before the form can be submitted.